This is a review for Quick Quiz 2.1. The problems that you're going to see here are very similar to the problems that you'll see on the Quick Quiz. Be sure to ask questions if you don't understand any of the review. You can ask your friends, your neighbor, or me. The first question says compare 306 thousandths to 63 thousandths. Remember, when we compare, we are first supposed to line up the numbers so that their place values match up. We start from left to right, comparing the numbers as we go. So starting from left, in the ones place, there's zeros. In the tenths place, for the top number, I have a 3. In the bottom number, I have a 0. That's the first place that they have a different number, so I'll compare those numbers. 3 is greater, so that makes that entire number greater than the other number. Here we're comparing again, 2 and 8 tenths to 2 and 80 hundredths. The first step is to line up the numbers, one on top of the other, so that their place values are matching. Another step that we should do is put a 0 wherever there's numbers that don't match up. So on the end of 2 and 8 tenths, there is no number to go with the 0 and the number below it, so we'll put a 0 there. Now the rule is compare from left to right. In the ones place there's 2's, that's the same, so we move on. In the tenths place there's 8's, that's the same, so we move on. And then in the hundredths place there's 0's, that's the same, so there are no more digits, and since all of the digits of both of these numbers are the same, we would say that these two numbers are equal. This problem says Greg is using 100 buttons to decorate a gingerbread house. What decimal does 8 buttons represent? Well, I know that 8 buttons would be 8 out of the total amount. 8 out of 100 is the fraction 8 100ths. Now to write that as a decimal number, I know that I need to have a number that goes all the way to the hundredths because the denominator says hundredths. So I'm going to start by putting a decimal, and hundredths, the hundredths place is 2 places to the right of the decimal, so I'm going to put my lines for my decimals. Since I only have one digit here in this numerator, I know that the 8 has to end in the hundredths place. That leaves a blank right here between the decimal and the 8. I can't just leave that blank because I have to show that there are no tenths. I do that by inserting a 0. And if you recall, we do include a leading 0 when there is no whole number. The next problem says, what is the word name for the numbers shown? Remember, read a whole number how you normally would. So we start off with the number 23,801. After the whole number is the decimal, so I'll go ahead and say and. And then we read the decimal number how we normally would. So 802, I would normally read that as 802. The last step to write the word name is simply to state the place that the least digit sits in. The last place value here is in the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, so I would write the word thousandths to complete this problem. The last review question for this quick quiz says write 430 and 564 thousandths in expanded form powers of 10. Remember, expanded form powers of 10 is taking each digit in the number and multiplying it by the place it is sitting in, and then you write all of that as an addition problem. So the very first digit that we have is 4. So I'll start off in parentheses by writing 4 times the place it's sitting in. It's sitting in the hundreds place. To that, I will add the next digit. 3 is sitting in the tens place, plus 0 is the next digit, but remember, we do not have to include the 0 as a placeholder when we write expanded form or expanded form powers of 10. So I'll skip that 0 and go on to 5. 5 times the place it's sitting in. It is sitting in the tenths place. You can write tenths either as a decimal or as a fraction. The next digit is 6 here. So 6 times the hundredths place. Oops. And I ran out of room on that line, so I'll continue down on the next line. The last digit that we have is 4. The 4 is sitting in the thousandths place.